Well, one Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin, right? And the same is true for 1 ounce of gold is still 1 ounce of gold. If you constantly check it in your fiat currency, yeah, it's a volatile ride. If you just focus on the fact you still have the Bitcoin or you still have the ounce of gold in your hands, you don't have to worry too much about it. Unless you're using margin and you trade very speculative with it. Bitcoin has been pricing it in all this development long before it actually showed up in the data, right? So I still buy into that. I'm just a little bit more cautious and relaxed, I would say, about the markets right now. I feel like I don't need to chase anything right now. If we figure out a way that Bitcoin can continue to prosper, and I think the Middle East here has a big benefit in helping it, then I think it can be easily traded a few $100,000 or even a few $1 million, because by then likely the Federal Reserve would have had to print a lot of dollars out of thin air. However, if they continue with their CBDCs and really manage to bring us into digital slavery, I don't know if Bitcoin plays any role anymore. So we really have to see. It's a question. It's a very important question for mankind that we're facing over the next few years, and I wouldn't take that lightly. I've been always an advocate of both. I never bought into that argument between either gold or Bitcoin. I always said you want to have both.
I'm like, why choose? Yes.
I think they complement each other beautifully. Gold, physically, analog, real stuff, 5,000-year track record, untraceable, doesn't need energy, doesn't need internet. And Bitcoin, new technology, decentralized, you can move big amount of money quickly. But it needs free internet, for example, right? And it's also, censorship in internet has increased a lot over the last few years, and it's not stopping that trend. Instead, it's actually increasing or getting even tighter, right? At some point next year, it's hard to like give you an exact date or anything, but I think it will happen once the financial markets are really starting to implode, and there's probably a big institution or a certain sector of the market imploding, putting such a huge amount of pressure on the Fed that they have to do something. But right now they're still believing in their strategy. They pulled out the sledgehammer, pushing interest rates higher. Initially it's been the market who basically forced them to increase interest rates due to the high inflation, but they still believe they can continue. The British central bank had already to pivot 2 weeks ago because 2 British pension funds came under severe stress. Let's see how long this can continue. The strong dollar puts stress on everybody in the whole world. We are in a liquidity crisis right now. If they continue like this for a few more months, it's not a good outlook. It's actually, I think the setup in the financial markets is getting more and more dire. And you want to be patient and wait until there is a clear signal that the worst is over. I mean, in a bear market, things can quickly fall apart and intensify, and could happen actually rather quickly as well. But I think gold will probably be the first one to start pricing in such a move before it actually happens. So I'm looking very closely at the gold market. It's an oversold situation right now. It can always pop a little bit, but if gold can basically recover this $1,800 level, the 200-day moving average, that will be a good first signal. And it also depends on the way it does it. So if you remember the last bear market that we experienced this in 2008, it's a long time ago. Yeah. Most people have zero experience how to trade and invest in a bear market. And also you didn't have any chance to train your skills over the last 13 years because there was no bear market. So we are in a different setup, new to most market participants right now. But the last time in 2008 and 9, gold was the first one to start turning around. We had a double low in gold at 680. And that happened when the Fed already also started to flood the markets with money. The stock market still needed a few more months until they found the final bottom. Gold went up from 680 to 1920 in the following 3 years. So something similar like this will likely happen this time. I could imagine seeing a double low in gold. Now we had one at 1620, so maybe the market tests it again. Yeah, first half of next year, I think we're going to see some signs that the pivot will happen. I think in 2023 we will see the pivot, and I think gold will be the first one to start pricing it in, and then all markets will turn around, and then it's probably again, which is the fastest horse, and then Bitcoin has good parts, right? But I right now in that scenario, I strongly stick with gold because it's just such a safe haven asset. It's outside the system. You can, even if you suffer by looking at the price that you paid for your physical ounce, you can take it in your hands. It feels good, it's heavy, it's real stuff. And so I'm a big believer in gold for many years already. It's always been good to me. It helped also in this bear market now, having a large chunk of my money in physical gold. In my understanding, it tells me that there's still too much hope.
Too much hope.
Yes. So the last crypto winter, I remember being at a conference in Berlin, and I think it was March 2019. 2 years before, there were like 2,000 people at that conference. In March 2019, there were like 50 people. Half of them were with their own booth, angry at the guy who organized the event because there were no people. And then I did a presentation saying I was bullish on Bitcoin at $3,000 or $3,500. It was actually the start of a new bull market. And I remember out of those 10 people attending, half of them left the room. So that was the bottom. It needs time to weed out all these bad actors, these scammy players, and also just bad projects that didn't do their homework enough, that basically spent too much the money that they collected. Again, I'm patiently waiting right now. I think you're gonna have a chance to buy at better prices. Very long term, I'm hoping, and I'm still bullish for gold, for Bitcoin. But as I try to lay out, it really depends on enough awareness amongst the people on this planet to stop central bankers from introducing CBDCs.
So stop CBDCs, but in the meantime,
buy gold and Bitcoin.
Buy gold and Bitcoin and be patient.
Be patient and don't use leverage in this environment. Step by step, slowly buying into it. You don't have to chase any latest story at the moment. In the bear market, everything goes down. In the bull market, everything goes up. It's actually that simple.